85-year-old Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has told a foreign TV audience that the Constitution of the United States is outdated and inferior to the South African Constitution, raising serious concerns regarding her mental state and suitability for ongoing employment. Conservatives are often ridiculed for criticizing liberal activist judges who fail to respect the Constitution. We are told that it is not conservatives, labeled ignorant and extremist, but rather enlightened liberal judges, with their nuanced understanding of constitutional penumbras, who truly respect the spirit of the Constitution. But conservatives have good reason to be skeptical of the left's respect for the Constitution. The simple fact is they don't respect it at all. They dream of dismantling it. Justice Ginsburg, 85, is a prime example of this type of liberalism. Speaking to an Egyptian TV interviewer, the Supreme Court Justice caused jaws to drop when claimed that she would not recommend the U.S. Constitution as a model for Egypt's new government. The problem, you see, is that the U.S. Constitution is a rather old constitution. Ginsburg suggested that Egyptians should look instead to the Constitution of South Africa or perhaps the European Convention on Human Rights. All these are much more recent than the U.S. Constitution. I would not look to the U.S. Constitution, if I were drafting a constitution. Justice Ginsburg said, I might look at the Constitution of South Africa. That was a deliberate attempt to have a fundamental instrument of government that embraced basic human rights, had an independent judiciary. It really is, I think, a great piece of work that was done. Never mind the fact that South Africa is teetering on the brink of civil war, and the South African government is currently seizing land from white farmers without compensation. Petty concerns like that do not concern elite liberals. Daily Signal reports, Ginsburg's comments echo those by Washington University professor David Law, who published a study with Miele Versteeg on the U.S. Constitution's declining influence worldwide. In an interview, Law unfavorably compared the Constitution to Windows 3.1, outdated and unattractive in a world of sleek and sexy modern constitutions. Such obsession with the age of the Constitution is both absurd and irrelevant. For one, the Constitution is still among the shortest and most elegantly written constitutions in the world. By contrast, South Africa's constitution is well over 100 pages long, filled with tables, schedules, and such stirring passages as detailed provisions for a financial and fiscal commission. National legislation referred to in subsection 1 must provide for the participation of the premiers in the compilation of a list envisaged in subsection 1b, and b. organized local government in the compilation of a list envisaged in subsection 1c. And you thought the U.S. Constitution was hard to read. Equally ridiculous is the claim that the Constitution is too antiquated to apply to the modern world. The principles of the Constitution, although first articulated centuries ago, are not tied to the material conditions of a bygone age. They rest on that most solid and enduring of all foundations, human nature. The Constitution itself contains no policy prescriptions. Rather, it is a short, elegantly written document that create a framework for a free people to confront the political questions of their times. Of course, the real reason progressives swoon over South Africa's constitution is that it goes far beyond merely establishing a framework for government and guarantees progressive policies, for example, by requiring legislation that prevents pollution and ecological degradation. In other words, the left's real discontent with the U.S. Constitution is that it does not require Americans to adopt a progressive government and expansive welfare state that provides for every right social scientists can justify. Americans should be very wary of those who would seek to upend the Constitution from the firm grounding in human nature that has allowed it to endure for more than 2 centuries and would transform it into an instrument devoted to policies of passing whimsy.